Hi, today I'm going to get a bit personal with a driving force in China's innovation on the world stage. Dr. Leo Li is my guest today. I met Leo in 2008 when I was in China, and he took the helm of Spreadtrum, which at that point in time was a very important Chinese chip company traded on the NASDAQ. However, the company was under a great deal of distress, and Leo, under his leadership, grew the market valuation from 35 million to over 7 billion. He credits this transformation with he and his fellow engineers being semiconductor farmers. We're going to learn more of what he means by that statement. You will find this journey fascinating, from the time that he spent on a farm during the Cultural Revolution, teaching himself calculus and physics, to his brave journey to America and his return to China. He's going to tell us about this journey, the risks that it took, the mindset that it took to do something truly transformational. We are going to get a bit personal with Leo Li today. So are you ready for this, Leo?
You got to. It has to be.
Okay, so we're in Shanghai and we're on the Bund. So this is an amazing view. You can see Pudong as well as the Bund side, so it's quite beautiful. And I think you know how much I love Shanghai. I love being here.
No, this is a beautiful, beautiful place. And then this is the best part of in Shanghai. The
Okay.
place, yeah,
Okay.
it is.
And I always know that when I'm with you, that I'm going to have the best food and the best wine. And I'm excited about the Michelin star experience tonight.
Yeah, 2-star.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Chinese
perfect.
food. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to just talk about, well, really sort of any topic you want to discuss. But I want to start with your childhood, because I know that you've told me a lot of fun stories, a lot of them which probably can't be repeated on air, but maybe some can. So you grew up at a very interesting time in China, obviously, at the tail end of the Cultural Revolution. You experienced that, and then you experienced the Reformation and the opening period in China. And so you've seen it all. You've seen the country absolutely transform itself from the Cultural Revolution to building a middle class to now having a very important place on the international stage. So it must be fascinating to watch. I mean, it's fascinating to watch from an outsider.
Which very true. And I grew up. Cultural Revolution, I think, started the 65-ish, ended the 78 or 78 to 75.
Okay.
That period, about more than 10 years. And then from elementary school all the way to high school. And that's actually that part of the world, and then that part of the time actually very crazy. When I told my kids, right, or my experience working in the farm, and then not even study in the high school or whatever, and people say that de-emphasize the study or learning or education. They actually, both my kids said, "Daddy, you made it up." They cannot believe that sort of thing. And then it was happening to me even, right? And one thing, before I went to college, after high school, everybody mandatory go to working farm. Everyone. There's
Okay.
just no exception. I think I worked in the farm for more than a year, 1975. And then I still remember quite vividly that it is not just a manual work. Farmers work always hard. It's hard to the extent that, unlike today, even to the Chinese farm today, they not only they use the tractors, the machines, and also AI powered drones and everything, right?
Right.
However, then 75 was no machine and everything done by manually, right? Human being. I remember during the springtime, you need to plow the field, and then the lack of the cattle and horses, and then there are 8 or 10 of us young kids just after high school pulling a plow,
Okay.
and it was so hard. And
gosh.
yeah, and one of the things I hated most, or afraid of the most rather, was the harvest time. Like a summer for the wheat, and then fall for the rice. Because the harvest, they don't have a machine to harvest, so you give every young kid a sickle,
Okay.
and then you hand to the harvest. This is like the wheat field is endless there, You work the morning 7 o'clock, and the end of the evening 7 o'clock. It's 12 hours solid. There was 2 breaks.
Okay,
And
wow.
yeah, made matter worse. This is I always remember this. You don't have enough meat. No nutrition wise. We eat meat once a month, and then I felt even today I felt hungry all the time. And then when funny story, and then when I went to US, right, I didn't know the language, and well, my American friends said, you suffered, and then you're like, you don't know the language, and you come to US, you're away from your family, everything, right? I said, actually, it's not as suffering as the working the
Right,
farm, because at least in the US, I'm not hungry. So this is a pretty hard experience for me. And then really funny because they not only de-emphasize education, they want to say re-educate the young kids, the youth, from the farmers. So they literally force you to work in the farmers, not physically to get you strong. They rather to brainwash you, to make sure you're, I don't know, think, or not to think what you learn from the book. Really
Okay.
funny. The whole thing is just upside down from what the common sense was. Yeah, but yet it's everyone in China at the time. So that was a pretty difficult.
And did someone see your aptitude for math and sciences at some
Zero.
point?
At the time, actually, they not only they de-emphasized everything. So I learned the math before I took the national entrance exam almost by myself, not
Okay.
through the school. In the elementary school, high school, and so forth, there was not much emphasis on the education and learning part, right? You have to study the revolution, or there was a lot of other crazy propaganda things you need to go through, and yet even in the school, high school, they send you to the farmers to do the physical labor work.
So
And
you
then
just taught yourself.
pretty much, yeah, at the time, yeah.
But what motivated you to do that? I mean, what would have been your aspirations if you stayed in China? What was a job for someone who learned math and sciences?
That's a very good question. Also, I told myself I don't want to stay in the farm.
Right.
And then in China, the only way not stay in farm at the time, you have to take the to get into university,
Okay.
and then you can permanently leave the countryside
Okay.
or leave the farm, and then you can change your life pretty much through education, through going you do university, get your degrees, and then get a job, and then you're not working the farm. No, don't be hungry again, that sort of thing. So yeah,
So,
that's motivate me.
so the country at some point in time reinstated the college entrance exam. So that was,
Yes, we had to thank Deng Xiaoping.
Okay.
1976, they resumed the national entrance exam.
okay.
They stopped for 12 years because of Cultural Revolution.
Oh, wow.
And then actually everyone for 12 or 14 years of the generation of youth, they crowded to attended national the college exam. That was kind of a hardest, and then the percentage get into the college was lowest in the history of China.
Okay.
It was very difficult at the time. Also, make it more difficult of myself. I had to work in the farm, remember? And then in the meantime, I had to study. And then work in the farm, you have to when sun rises, now it's the sun, right? It's supposed to be working time, labor working time.
Right.
And then sun sets, and then you can go home to eat, and mostly you sleep. Physically, you're exhausted, right? And then during the daytime, had to go through the hard labor work, and then study during the evening. And then from 8 or 9 o'clock all the way to 2 o'clock. For that, it lasted 8 to 9 months. It was a I don't even know how I able to sustain, go through that. Many of my roommates, because 7 or 8 of us are living in one room, could not go through this. And then said, Leo, you got to do a great thing as I want, because you are the only one able to go through this and study. Yeah, it was pretty hard. But
And so you were
I
one
was
of the
young.
few people that got in university.
Very few, and also I got to because you have to because you scored, and then University of Science and Technology of China at the time even better than Tsinghua and the Beijing University was maybe the highest or the best school at the time. Yeah,
Okay.
and I was pretty lucky. Yeah.
So was that experience?
One comes.
Oh, good.
Okay.
See, I always get cheers.
Cheers.
It's great to see you,
Sure.
Leo. probably not the French wine that you're used to. But
No, I'm a bit better than this. I'm sorry.
okay, so how was the university experience?
That was pretty interesting because it was so difficult and so lucky for a few of us getting to university, right? So actually, the funny we always emphasize on study and learning, and even some of us are sleeping in the libraries, don't even go back to the dormitory because we want to spend more time to learn. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So that the young kids today, Generation Z, they're in university, they have a good time. You it's the same thing. College is supposed to be fun, right?
Right.
Completely opposite from us. So because we so treasure the learning opportunity for us, so we just really don't nothing but learning. Yeah, that's a kind of a
So no wonder
concentrate.
your generation of Chinese scientists that came to the U.S. No wonder you guys did so incredibly
There is
well
a
and
harder
succeeded.
drive, actually, the desire or burning desire
Right.
to not succeed for yourself. You rather try to better not just yourself, and also the more scientific discoveries or engineering breakthroughs or something. And then actually you want to contribute more because the time is limited, and then you literally treasure. And then this is the rarest opportunity for all of us, my generation too. Yeah.
So then in 1990, you came to the U.S.
86.
86.
86, yeah.
Okay, so what was that decision like?
That's another good question. Because China then, I don't know, completely different now. By the way, this place may be the farm field or something. No, literally. And China then was not open. They just started to open, right? And then there's not economically was okay. I tell you, I graduated. I got a master's degree from the best university in China, working in the Academy of Science of China, right? And my monthly salary is 110 renminbi divided by 10 is $11 a month. This is a master's degree, the best the university graduate working there. But
Was
the
the
whole
farmer
country,
was making more?
no, the farmers actually no less.
Okay.
Farmers about 100 renminbi per year.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, for
Okay.
$10 per year. That
Okay.
was my salary. Yeah, working the entire year. Anyway, so education, in particular for the PhD or master degree, I really think scientific, even engineering level, U.S. is a far superior, better. So at the time, I think pursuing the PhD, because I also PhD candidates in China. And then yet I said U.S. is better. However, only have like $11 US dollar per month salary. Where on earth you can get into University of
Right.
US, right? I applied, and then I got into MIT and some others. However, they asked me to pay the first year tuition, which was like MIT were like 30,000 US dollars at the time,
Okay.
40,000 US dollars for like $11 per month salary. I couldn't really afford, much less even for the airline tickets. And then University of Maryland College Park paid tuition and stipend as a research assistant.
Okay.
So for the first and second and whatever, so I was able to go to I was able to go to University of Maryland College Park was because they pay me.
Okay.
Yeah, Stanford, MIT, and other. I got enrolled, admitted. However, I could not go.
Okay.
They all asked me to pay the first year tuition,
Wow.
which I can't. Even go to the U.S. For the airline tickets, it's about 1,500 US dollars. I don't have money. My parents don't have money, so I had to borrow the money from the government. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I paid back after, got into the university and so forth, a year after.
Okay.
It's 87, 86 summer I went to, and then 87 I paid back the airline tickets.
Wow. Amazing.
It is, yeah.
So what about, so you show up in Maryland. So what must that have been like? I mean, you came from this, well, first from the farm and then this community where you studied 24/7, a completely closed society prior to that, and suddenly you wind up
Yeah,
in
wind up
America.
U.S. That's crazy too. I think about now because China is now open. There is no English, not many foreigners and everything, right? And then even foreigner, when you come here, they give you different money.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't, you don't spend the renminbi here. They give you a different money, and everything is different. And also, there's not many chance to learn to speak English at all. In China. But
Had you
86.
ever met anyone from America?
I did. I met actually my professor. Later,
Okay.
because I was able to present my paper in international conference held in Beijing. Because
Okay.
I was a master's degree graduate and everything, and I was reading my paper. He was down there and he came to me. He liked the work I did,
Okay.
and then he literally said, actually, I was able to communicate somehow, able to say, were you able? I want you to go to University of Maryland to study the PhD, And then later he became my advisor.
Okay.
And then I say yes, and then I was able to write and to read and write, not able to speak. And then, so that's
Where'd you even learn how to read and write?
Oh, in college.
In college, okay.
That part is
Okay,
not
okay.
too difficult.
Okay.
But most when you mentioned that when I arrived at College Park, Maryland, and then this is U.S. And then actually my professor is a New Yorker. You're in New York City, right? When they talk generally much faster in Texas.
Right.
Like,
You should have gone to Texas.
exactly. And then, the Chinese way, almost like Indian, they're just knocking your head, He said, Leo, if you don't understand, don't knock your head. But yes, I still knocking head. You do it again. Anyway, it was difficult, not able to speak the language. On top of it, not able to communicate your professor. That was pretty hard. And then people say the culture shock. I literally experienced culture shock.
Right.
And then, because today the kids in China, right, they know more maybe MBAs, American culture than myself even, because the world is more connected today,
Right.
internet.
So different.
They can travel too, right? But okay, that was the first time for me take airplane from here to U.S. And before that, even domestically, there were not much airplane traveling and nothing like that. So was a quite shock.
Okay, you have to tell the audience the subway story.
That was, but now it's pretty funny. However, at the time, it was kind of embarrassing. And that was the second week I was in College Park. And then remember, I was not able to speak the language, right? So I walked to the College Park, and then I saw Subway. Actually, now everybody knows even China has many Subway stores, sandwich shops.
Right.
I saw the Subway. I think it might be the underground train station. I wasn't sure. So I went back to dormitory to check the Chinese English dictionary I brought from China, and then look at it. And it said the underground train station. This is for sure. A dictionary said that, right? So I went into the Subway shop, and then I asked because I know the College Park is not too far from Washington, D.C. It's about, like 20 miles or something. And then I said, I want to buy a ticket. I wasn't speak as clear as I did now, from College Park to Washington, D.C. Obviously, the guy didn't want to sell me. And then I thought, because I'm a foreigner, because I don't speak the language, he refused to sell me the ticket. So I, insist upon it, and then back and forth a few times. Finally, I found that was a sandwich shop. He said, "This is the Subway." They point to the sandwich, and then I didn't know. I thought, "Oh my God!" Because even the Chinese English dictionary I brought from China at the time, there's no explanation. Say the
Right.
Subway is
Right.
a sandwich shop. The Subway is, you go to London, or it is a underground train station, right? So I told this. No, I just went to the college, but I went to the lab, told my professor. He just kept laughing for almost the whole day. He said, "Leo, this is the funniest things ever. I did funny to you, not necessarily to me." It was, anyway, that was
I
a story.
love that story.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a true story. And then, at the time, I felt pretty bad, actually. But
now, in hindsight.
In hindsight, it's pretty funny.
Right. So obviously you acclimated at some point to the U.S. You felt very comfortable. You started your career there. You started your family there. You became an American
I
citizen.
married first. I married my wife first, and then I went to the U.S. first, and then later on she came to join me. Yeah.
Okay.
And then my kids were born in Washington D.C.
Okay.
I have twin daughters. They were born in Georgetown University High School. Medical high school,
Okay.
a hospital.
Okay. And do they come back to China often?
At the time, yes, yeah,
Okay.
they almost like summertime. I was trying to force them to learn the Chinese, which is the opposite from me. Anyway,
Right.
and yeah, they almost like every summer they come back because parents in Beijing, so
Okay.
they see their grandparents and so forth. Yeah,
Okay. So why did you decide to stay in the U.S.?
this is I think because at the time after I think 1990s, I got my PhD. And then my professor actually encouraged me to work in the scientific area because my papers thesis are pretty good. He said, "You should go that route. I'm really good at I love math and the thesis I think is one of the kind of a theoretical breakthrough. And
Okay.
then actually my professor used my thesis to get at the time the Star Wars a lot of contracts from
Okay.
the defense department. However, I was not able to work it, although it's my thesis or my work, because I'm coming from China. I wasn't even American citizen. For even the citizens still coming from China, forget it. It's enemy country.
Right.
And so yeah, he encouraged me to being a professor or go to the natural labs to continue the scientific work. However, one of my problem or is I don't want to teach, and then I don't have much patience. And then I said I want to go to companies to work, engineering work, solving problems, so forth. So I decided, because also you asked me why I want to stay there, because the companies and then engineering work in U.S. is like levels compared to China in early 90s or 80s, completely different, right? The much higher levels. And then I work in the at the time was a GE Mobile first. Later
Okay.
on sold to Ericsson, so I worked in Ericsson. Yeah, there was like a few thousand engineers and working on the mobile communications, the base stations, and the handsets.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll work there to start and stay there, get the green card and so forth. And so I decided to stay in U.S. And more importantly, also I wanted to do a startup.
Okay.
I work in Virginia East Coast. The East Coast, for the younger engineer to get a fund or startup,
Right.
impossible, right? So I thought I need to move to West. So at the time, I was hired by Rockwell Semiconductor at the time. Later on, changed to Conexon. Yeah, the
Yes.
Rockwell. It was a defense, and also we're doing the first handset, a chipset, baseband chipset for the handset, maybe in the world at the time. Yeah, and that's why I work doing the engineering work. I was a very good engineer myself, and then and then U.S. provided the opportunity for a good engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, projects.
So Conexant, you were in Southern California initially.
Okay. Newport Beach,
Okay.
Southern California, and I worked for Rockwell for like 2 years. And later on, we formed the startup. Remember, I want to do a startup.
Right.
Yeah, the startup called the Mobile Link,
Okay.
doing the similar thing, the baseband for the handset, and later on, we sold it to Broadcom for in 2001 ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a startup experience. We did that was pretty interesting. There was difficult too. However, also we managed to work with Ericsson, later on Sony Ericsson. One of the most popular handset, the T100, they sold about 20 million or 30 million. 30 million then was a huge number. Use our chipset, the Mobile Link.
Okay.
Later on, we sold it to Broadcom.
Okay.
At the time with Harry Nicholas and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
He was making a lot of acquisitions back then.
exactly.
Right.
I was we were like a number 23 or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there was everybody's new. When did you acquire? We meet in different office and pretty funny.
So you went to work then for Broadcom.
Oh yeah, we worked for Broadcom for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we established, because of my company, we established a baseband chipset, wireless chipset group there. Later on, yeah, and then I came to, I left it for a little bit of personal investment, and later on came to Spreadtrum. But yeah.
Okay, so then, I mean, what a big decision to decide to leave the U.S. and come back to China. What did you see? What was the opportunity that you saw that maybe others didn't at the time?
That's primarily actually was the board of Spreadtrum needed a new CEO because
Okay.
it was kind of difficult. They listed in Nasdaq two year 2007, I
Okay.
think, and then 2008 was a difficult time, and so they think, yeah, and also because the founders of Spreadtrum was coming from MobileLink, I was helping
Oh,
them to first
okay.
get a fund
Okay.
too, right? And I was one of them helping them too. So
Okay.
then they think maybe Leo's maybe should be the because the CEO of Spectrum board the director thinks that way, and then just happened the headquarters right here in Shanghai, so I have to come here. So primarily, mostly because of it, and also I think. Also, I was born in Beijing. I was educated here. Bachelor's and master's and so forth. So a lot of things I know here. To me, also, I know China is I think not one of the biggest, it's the biggest semiconductor product markets in the world.
Right. Right.
I think, yeah, we're being closer because I was a MobileLink and Broadcom. I come here, wanted to sell my handset to Bird, so use my chipset, everything. So I know this is closer to customers, closer to market, actually will be good for you, right? As a company. So when they said, they were asking me to want to be the CEO of a Spectrum, I say, okay, no, yes, and then I come here. So that's primarily the reason from the Spectrum. And then second part is more for the market, for the closeness to the customers and so forth. Yeah.
But coming back to China, I mean, it must have been just a completely different country than the one you left.
Exactly. So I know that because I come here for the customer visits and so forth. I know that. However, still stay here permanently, long and also when I came, because my kids was high school. He said, only until the kids graduate from high school, then you can be the CEO because the CEO here you don't have time to go back to U.S. My kids in U.S. right, they're in high school. So I didn't have a guts to really tell my family I'm the CEO. So they read it from news. They said, hey, Leo, how come you be the CEO of a Spreadtrum? You said until the kids graduate. He says now graduate, also like half of 1 year. I said, no, don't worry. They're only temporary, only 3 months. It turned out to more than 3 months. Anyway, yeah, it was a little bit gutsy decision to be myself here and then coming back to China. But still thinking back, I think it's still the right decision personally to me, professionally too.
As technology pushes towards new limits, some of the most important breakthroughs happen at the foundations of modern computing. Silicon Box is working at that edge. They focus on advanced semiconductor packaging and chiplet integration, helping turn ambitious architectures into scalable real-world systems. Their work addresses a challenge leaders across the industry recognize: how to move innovation out of theory and into production. What stands out about Silicon Box is their role in enabling what comes next. As AI and high-performance computing reshape the industry, they're building the infrastructure that allows those ideas to scale responsibly and reliable. To learn more about how Silicon Box is advancing the future of semiconductor integration, visit silicon-box.com. Now let's get back to the episode.
So I think that I met you the year that you took over as the CEO, and I remember a meeting with you very specifically. Spreadtrum was in a building and they had a restaurant there.
Yes, yeah.
That I think was the Spreadtrum restaurant. So we met there.
Sure.
And you told me, and this was October, November of 2008, that revenues went to zero.
It was zero, no joke. It was very hard. And then people really said, Leo, you are just stupid or what? Because, okay, the Spectrum was like almost 12 or 1,500 people down. We laid out all the people down to 500.
Wow.
And then stock price from $12 or $15 all the way down to 60 something cents, under $1 for almost a year. If NASDAQ under $1 for a year, you delisted, right? And secondly, the value of the company was only 35 million US dollars. I got $40 million cash. For 500 engineers, $40 million, about 4 months that's it. Yeah. And then they said, Leo, are you crazy? This is like a dead end, right? You bury yourself or something, being the CEO. But I told them that I said, okay, so it's a zero, revenue is a zero. Doesn't matter how bad I'm doing for the company, cannot create a negative revenue, right? So it is still maybe opportunity.
Right.
I didn't see the later things, but I said, work one thing at a time. And then that was a pretty hard, but yeah, it was everybody, morale was down, and then people think this is the end of the world, and then Leo comes, you cannot save the world either, right? So that was a pretty gutsy decision.
Right. Yeah, and to be honest, it seemed like the end of the world. I remember so well in March of 2009, we had a board meeting at Broadcom,
Yeah, yeah.
and an analyst came in and kind of went around the table and heard everybody's thoughts, and he's like, okay, here's my projection. We're going straight up from here because you guys have so overcorrected. You're so negative.
It is.
And by the way, that was the lowest day for the NASDAQ, and it did solidly go up from there.
It started from there. Actually, but they're not going straight line, of course.
That's my story. It's not so much better a straight line.
No, really funny because it was under $1, right? I remember vividly 2009 February was 65 cents or 67 cents. And then after the CEO and then some customers and partners, they bought the stock under $1 is pretty cheap, right?
Right.
So they went to like $2 or $3, they sold it, and then they kept going up, and then they said, Leo, how on earth you kept making stock going up? They want to buy back or they want to make more money, but but it's going like a zigzag, but still, but a general trend is going up multiple times. Make a long story short, was a 65 cents, and then when I sold the company to Unit Group, was $32.5.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like 30 or 40 times multiples. And revenue when I sold to Unit Group was $1 billion US. Net profit was $100 million US. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. So, and I think that what people may not understand is that Spreadtrum was one of those companies before the crisis that was viewed as one of the real players that could be a big company in China.
It's the company, even much better than the Huawei's semiconductor units. Yeah, we were the number one. Clear. There were no number 2 and 3. Right. Number one, we listed in the Nasdaq. We successfully delivered the handset for the market, mostly for the gray markets. However, that was very big, and also the entire government. And then President Hu Jintao visited Spreadtrum, and then Wen Jiabao, the prime minister, visited Spreadtrum two or three times. So the country focused on this, and yet going down the hill was pretty embarrassing and bad for the country. But they desperately needed a platform, semiconductor in particular, for the country, right? So that's why they didn't give too much financial support, but this is more still a market-driven business.
Right.
And then, but the business was getting better and better, and yet we made a very striking contribution, I think, for the country, for China, was because I doubled down on the China 3G. China 3G was a TD CDMA. The world has a WCDMA mostly from Qualcomm, and China has its own 3G standard. And then we actually, I know there's an advantage for me, close to China and everything. So I put all the resources, the focus on that. So at the end of our products for the TD CDMA, the best in the world. Even Qualcomm licensed my IP. This is this is the opposite. Qualcomm usually is standard high quality, whatever. However, for TD CDMA, we're the best.
Okay.
And then that was very good for China, for the China 3G, we call it. Yeah, we pushed to help the China 3G moving forward. Yeah, competing, and now it's 4G or 5G, whatever, right? However, at the time, about 2011, 2010. Yeah, the China 3G was China Mobile and so forth. We started a high margin, and then no competitor, including Qualcomm and MediaTek. We're the one. Okay. Yeah, pretty cool. So that moved the company forward.
So I think it's always interesting to watch China executives because you manage in a very, quote, Chinese way. But your investors, your customers, many of them Western, so you're obviously very comfortable with Western culture, Western business dealings. So you think that gives you an advantage? And what do I mean by Chinese way?
This is a kind of a, yeah, this is a kind of a very interesting question and also very good question because if you say, what is the Chinese way? My answer actually is you have to talk to whoever. See, in my generation, there's a one type of Chinese way, and talk to Generation Z, there's a completely
Right,
different
right.
Chinese way.
Yes.
Right? But in general, you have to like extract contrast between the two. The Chinese way is more emphasizing on the collective, the effort, the teamwork, respect the authority, hierarchy type of things. And then, individually it's less, right? You're more on the group or for the country or something. On top of for the even very interesting for communication, China is more let you second guess what I'm saying. Even for like what we're talking about, I don't tell you what exactly what. Okay, there's more holdback, second guessing, and then to hint it or something. This is a more typical traditional Chinese way. Don't show your cards, so to speak.
Okay.
And yet American is more straightforward, right? And then more individualism or emphasize individual rights and then don't respect the authority as much as China do, right? Or follow the order like Japanese or Chinese, yeah. And so the cultures are still strikingly different. But for me, I think, as you said, I manage the U.S. team, even the Mobile Link startup or Broadcom. I have a team, obviously big team in U.S. I manage them. Also, I have teams here in China and also in Taiwan, in Japan and in India. But the Broadcom time. Also, even Mobile Link, I have teams in San Diego, also the Silicon Valley, and the both of U.S. and Chinese. Obviously, larger engineering teams here in China. My approach, I'd say the more embracing or mix up a hybrid of both. Usually, I done on purpose for Americans, are more emphasizing on teamwork, and make contribution with others and look at all the bigger pictures. For Chinese, I literally tell them straight communication is a must. You don't do this the second guessing and so forth. And longer term goal. They say this Chinese way, but anyway, American way is more like, because I was a public company CEO, the quarter-to-quarter driven and hard driven and adaptive innovation. This is kind of like hard. However, also like a Chinese way or Oriental way, for that matter, is more longer term planning and committed for longer term. So I can do both in a way. I think if you make both, I think it will be better than just the one, right? And also, if you talk about Western culture, you have to say, what is U.S. culture and what's a European? Because I have a team in U.S. European as well, right? That's also quite different. But personally, I still like a U.S. way or Americans' culture, engineering or business culture more dedicated and strike for the gold. European, I work with, this no overtime working. I have a customer working with Ericsson and Siemens Mobile. After 5:30 or 5 o'clock, we want to work. Oh, we have to travel to Germany, and that's so difficult. And I said, no, nobody work. And then your work had to get a VP approval, and also you have to get a security guard with you. After 8:30, you have to leave the building. This is like I said, hey, I'm helping you to design the handset for God's sake. We travel there to want to work, want to overtime. They don't want. They don't. This is against the
No
law.
996 there.
Forget it. Yeah. This is the clock. Very, very interesting. I work with Ericsson. Really funny. He said, "Oh, if we work 1 hour a day, 1 hour from 5 o'clock to 6, so I can take from the Christmas and to the New Year in the entire period off." So they think that way. This is Ericsson is the biggest company in Sweden, a Swedish company. I worked there for like 6 or 5 years. And
how does Europe ever compete against China?
I don't think they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not able to compete. Forget about the U.S. or even European people, because I have a personal investment, and then they are technical tech terms and so forth. And the funny is that Leo, my company actually work overtime. This is a statement. They want to impress me. So work overtime is kind of like a taboo or something in Europe. So if you don't work hard, there's no free lunch, right? How can you compete? Yeah. Here in China, for the we mentioned the Generation Z or younger generation or my generation, we want to work, right? We just strike the goal. I mean, just like, however, people here are more, lifetime balancing, having fun. They don't think work is fun. So that's the key word.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So is work fun?
In Spreadtrum or even the startup company now, I always ask them to, I don't know, Matsu Inamori, the Japanese
Yes.
businessman, philosopher, and then he named like a god of a business management or something, and he's about passion for success. Everybody, even joining the Spreadtrum, everybody has the copy because in his book he said hard work, you want to improve yourself, enhance yourself even from the knowledge or skills or even spiritually, you're going through the hard work. And the hard work is almost like a religious practice or something.
Right.
And then to better yourself, to make you more not just useful, but better for the mankind. This is the spiritual process you need to go through, is through the hard work. Yeah, and then I just give it to, but I'm not, in the marathon, I'm not quite sure how convincing to the Generation Z.
Okay, so let's talk about Generation Z because there's recently a survey in the U.S. that said only 2% of Generation Z have the work values that hiring managers are looking for. 2%.
2%. Oh my God, almost zero.
I know. 70% believe in purpose over pay. And so tell me about the Chinese engineers. Are you seeing that in Generation Z?
My company, we didn't hire as many Generation Z. Mostly people in charge or something. They were in 70s, 80s. They were like the main force. I'm the oldest one in the company, but still 70s and 80s. I think it's still. I think like 70. There was one thing almost like Silicon Valley when they want to be financially free. They want to be wealthy or something. There's one of the Silicon Valley thing, right? I want to own the private jet or whatever.
Right.
In particular, Broadcom, it's just like you see sudden wealth popped up in a lot of places. So you're driven at least partially by that, right? However, for Generation Z, they don't see that. I think I discussed with other people. I said, hey, Generation Z, their life has been much better. Like my life, I told you that I work in the farm, hungers and this and that. It's always hardship with you all the time. Yeah, you see the difficulties. You want to be, you're always in this surviving mode. And yet, Generation Z, they don't see that. When I talk to my kids, my experience, I just told you, they think.
And how old are your girls?
They born in '92, so they were 30 something. Not Z anymore. Yeah, I think that they are similar to Generation Z, but not to the extent, right? They say, Daddy, everyone among us, hate work. They Berkeley graduates. They work, and later on they get an MBA from Chicago University, very good, and then Booth, right? And then also MIT Sloan. And then after that, they work in McKinsey and then Amazon. Now both of them work in AI startups.
Okay.
They work very hard. I mean, generally harder than the Z, but still their point of view similar to what you said, the Generation Z. At least my kids, I don't think it belongs to 2% either, from the point of the view.
Okay.
But they work hard. They still want to make sure they're be valuable for others and so forth. So this is more what I taught them. So yeah.
Right.
But not Z. Yeah.
What do they think of all that you've accomplished?
I think it's good for them. Yeah, they. I think I kept telling people, talk to me on this one too. How do you educate your kids? I think more like a lead by example. So one of the things when they discuss with the kids at Southern California, the University of Southern California.
Yeah. My son went to USC.
Yeah, they say, Daddy, Berkeley, Southern California. I really strong. Usually I don't force them to. I say my strong advice to you: go to Berkeley. They are enrolled in biology, bioengineering
Okay.
schools. Engineering school, Berkeley, very, very
Right.
tough, right? And then actually they listen to my advice and they go, they are like a number one, number two in school because I purposely send them to a more American kids, not with the Chinese and Indians. And then they go Berkeley, they say, my God, you Chinese ruined the curve because Chinese people coming from mainland China, they were so good in math and so
Right.
forth. The Berkeley is it's a very tough school. There is like a math class of 200 or 300 people, and then a lot of people cannot even go through the engineering and then change their major or something, but they stick through. And yeah, so I think my way of doing it more, not just kept talking to them, which actually they didn't want to listen anyway. They more lead by example and show them the result. But thinking back, when I talk to them, they still think my advice asked them to go to Berkeley engineering, and later on the business MBAs and so forth. I think it turned out it's a good path, a career path for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And they live in Silicon Valley
They're
or San Francisco?
San Francisco, and
Okay.
both of them San Francisco.
Okay.
But one is working in the Silicon Valley, the other just San Francisco. Yeah. The AI startups. I think now it's everywhere in US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch over to some more personal leadership
Sure.
topics. So how would you describe your leadership style in a couple of sentences?
That's a very good question. I never even thought that way. I mean, in a couple of sentences.
Or a paragraph.
Yeah, right. Long story. No, I'm just joking. They were, I think in particular Spreadtrum, I was, myself, I thought that there's a farmer style. You use the farmers as an analogy, right?
Now I know why
Yeah,
you use that.
Yeah, see, because not only physically I work in the farm, also I told people, I said, hey, farmers is more 100% or 200% result oriented, right? Because you get what you see, what you planted, right? And then you do everything. There's no fuzzy, no nonsense for the next year harvest. And yet takes longer time too, right? It takes almost a year to grow the crops. And for that matter, I think it's more grounded, practical, and then result driven. I think that's more customer oriented. I think if I say anything about myself, forget about the engineering geniuses or how good at engineering. I think that's a rather second part. I think first part is more result oriented, customer driven. I also use what a CEO of Huawei, Ren Zhengfei, said to his people. He said, I also to my engineer, said what he said was, the money your wife wants to spend is with the customer. Go get it. In other words, so that he links your family with your work.
Okay, that's very, yeah, it's very
very
interesting.
I think
Right.
very good, right? This is what Ren Zhengfei said. And then I always use word to my people. I said, this is not. If I say this is what I said, they don't listen. So I say this is Ren Zhengfei said. So you got it. But anyway, Huawei practice the same way.
Okay.
They're very hard, customer result driven. So
Okay.
if you make it one sentence, I think that should be the one. Yeah.
So do you have any mantra or quote or anything that you live by?
That's another good question. No, I think if I say anything I said, no, I may not be even right. But I say, okay, what the I try to kind of mantra, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. This is what German philosopher, or what is the other one? I think that one's pretty good.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Or JFK's for a person, not how many times they kind of you knock down, but how many times you come back again, stand up again, that sort of thing.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. So talk about a time that was the most challenging in your professional career and how first of all, sometimes you have to just pick yourself up, but sometimes you have to actually take it as a lesson and say, okay, I need to pivot. I need to go a different direction. So maybe give an example of both of those.
I think the first one, I think I already said that some of it is more the Spreadtrum, early, like 2008, 2009 stage of the Spreadtrum. That was like almost 4 months to live, right? That's only $40 million to spend. And then there's zero revenues, and the people morale is so low, not just low, it's so low that people think there was no hope. And yet, at the time, I'll be the CEO, right? And that was a pretty desperate situation because I could be the one, drive the company to ground, and that was a pretty, dire and the bleak situation. But to pick you up, I think I didn't think too much during the time. Now I'm thinking back, it's more. I just more focus on the new products, hiring new people, just one step at a time.
Okay.
Instead of I even didn't think of the mantra I just told you. Anyway, at the time you don't think too much. You more focus on solving the issues, and then you bury with the work, and then actually you feel better because sometimes with a small steps to solving the problem and a small success that make you more thinking the hopeful things instead of looking the whole picture. Maybe who knows, right? I mean,
Right.
you say, oh man, I got 4 months to money to spend, and then maybe after what if I think 4 months after I'm dead or whatever. So if you think that way, actually you actually doing will be could be off from the things you wanted to do. So I think more focus on the solving the problems, the engineering issues, the business issues, or customers one at a time successfully to satisfy yourself, and then make you think you are hopeful. And then again, it's make you stronger. Doesn't really kill you. But actually, I don't even say that. But it's just doing the things one at a time and making sure moving forward. Yeah. Which result actually is always the so-called success. The two things. One is accumulated, hard work and so forth. The second, sometimes also the luck or something to strike for it too. Yeah. But I think I was pretty lucky.
I'm not sure it's luck, Leo.
It's
Okay, so just a few more questions. So you became the GSA chairman in 2017. Okay, so this was after maybe 10 years of really, really good relationship between the U.S. and China.
true.
But I think that in the U.S. sometimes especially the government looks back on it and says, okay, yes, but you lost so much IP over there. China forced you to do things you didn't want to do. So can you give an example of a cross-border partnership collaboration that worked in two ways? One, it created something, so innovation, and then secondly, that both parties benefited.
Sure. I can give you, after I sold the company to Unigroup, right? And then I worked with Intel. BK was the CEO then. Intel invested $1.5 billion cash into Spreadtrum, 20%. So he on the board, owned the share. And then more than that, we worked very closely with Intel teams, engineering top level. So the plan was use the Intel x86. Nobody using handset. So BK said, Leo, you got to use this. And the Intel Foundry, 14 nanometer. So I put like 200 or 300 people closely work with Intel. And then tape out the baseband 4G chips with the CPU, not ARMs. CPU was Intel 86.
Okay.
And Intel Foundry. We successfully taped about a year and a half. We tape out our chips. Later on, sold 1 or 2 million, actually in high demand in China market and the automobile and the handset. Intel's own team didn't even tape out. Yeah.
Okay.
So was kind of a close relationship. I think it was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time, 2017. Before I left 2017, right? And then that was at the time. And then I think during that period, I was a chairman of GSA,
yes.
right? But I think we worked together. I think I try to promote. I get more people to join GSA, Chinese company CEOs. And then actually I told them that. I say that today. Semiconductor-wise, China still play a catching up game. Not, whatever press say there were, independence. I agree. However, I think compare with the industries, engineering levels, and so forth. In particular for AI, I think China is still back behind.
Okay.
I think both sides have a lot of learn, and then also China, like I said before earlier this conversation, China is the biggest semiconductor product in the market in the world. You don't want to miss the market for U.S. companies, right? In particular, something you tape out, you spend engineering, you want to sell, you want to create the volume.
Right.
Without China, I mean, where I did say where the customer sales come from?
Right.
Not just the U.S. European, forget it. It's going nowhere. They don't buy many products, right? And I think this create the trouble for U.S. On top of that, I think U.S. politicians or some people said, oh, if you sell the China for the whatever advanced chips, they will enable. However, if you don't that, they do it themselves. And you force the Chinese to do it by themselves, right? If you sell them that, they say, hey, this is very better than ours. We use this, and then not only create the sales for the U.S. companies, also will slow down their own development.
Right.
Actually, this is such an easy thing. Why don't they see it, right? I really blame both sides, politicians, for their political reasons. They're trying to say this, try to separate or for their own goods. I don't think it's good for the country, both sides. And then in particular for semiconductor, they're interconnected. I don't think it's right. Yeah, but it's a little bit about both of us.
Yeah.
So difficult. But for GSA, if we tried our things, right? You may remember we even talked the lobby to U.S. government, try to make sure the understanding that and more collaboration of both sides and so forth. China and U.S. are different, right? U.S. more emphasize on hyperscales and data centers and so forth. China more on the vertical markets and industrial applications. For that, actually, kind of a lower tech chips maybe works. And then just for AI hyperscale data centers, I know the China chipsets compared with NVIDIA's, even AMD's, is much, not performance, much lower performance. However, China's, electricity, generated in China, 2.5 times the U.S. So they can power this. And then one of the problems with U.S. is that they don't generate enough power for the data centers and so forth. So there are always pros and cons for doing this. To me, I still want they work together. And also as American citizen, it's kind of a use English words between hard places, the rock and hard places. I have a startup, a Blue Ocean, doing AI chips. Being American, I mean, for here, some of the projects are more government or some big business related. Actually, everybody know me, but he also know, Leo, you're an American citizen. You better give up American citizen, denounce it, so I can buy your products. I say, yeah. And also for U.S., I have many of my investors are American based VCs, right? So they say, Leo, I cannot invest anymore because the government won't allow me. Legally, I'm in trouble too. So for that, I say the more myself, I said, for China operation, I'm more like resign from the leadership China operation, let the local people take in charge. Yeah, I'm more focused on outside China, Europe, US, and so forth. So that's kind of like being America. You remember during one of the chairman of the GSA, we can benefit or mix of the embrace of the both worlds, right? And then help the to not just interconnected, also take advantage of different markets or technologies or people's change. Even the Spreadtrum side, I hired quite a few people from Broadcom to join the team here in China or US as a Spreadtrum team. Actually, for the people, you want the different talents, right? And then to transform the business to benefits of the working together. However, now it seems like impossible. Yeah, and then like IBM and then Microsoft, they all close off their R&D centers here in China. I think it really, for U.S. point of view, I really agree with Bill Clinton, that kind of idea. You work closely, you influence them in the Western way, if you had to say that. If you totally separated, decoupled, I think you create a much more misunderstanding.
Right.
And then what's the outcome, the consequence? Maybe the war or something. It's not very comfortable, not very good thing for both countries. That's my view.
And I recently this guy named Dan Wong, who is a researcher at Hoover Institute. So he talked about how that in the U.S. they're really just not very curious about China, and then the American citizens in general. And then he also this I don't know if you know who Zach Dykewald is, but he studies the younger generations in China,
sure.
and he was talking about how modernization among young people in China
Z's,
is
okay.
not modernization does not mean westernization. So
Sure.
it seems like China's going one way and the U.S. is going another, and
Exactly.
it's
Right.
problematic.
Yeah, very problematic. And also, we talked about during the before this, like say Donald Trump administration take 10% of ownership in India. This is very China government thing. It's not American free markets and then the capitalism alike, right?
Right.
So. Yeah, we talk about Generation Z when when they travel to U.S. or in particular to Europe, that their own infrastructure is so old, it's not very good. They think that this society here is much better. So yeah, I really still back to what I keep saying, the communication, collaboration should be happening, and then it's good for the both countries.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we keep up this kind of dialogue,
At least, yeah.
It-
So we
it'll be
work
helpful.
on our level. We
That's
try
right.
our
That's
part,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
So we
We're
cannot,
diplomats in our own
we cannot
way.
control the other part.
That's right. All the white noise.
Right. But anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for sitting down with us today, Leo,
Yeah.
and it was really a fascinating discussion. So thank you.
It's totally my pleasure.
Okay. Okay, Leo, you thought you were done.
Yeah, no,
I was lying.
no,
Okay.
yeah.
We're going to do what we call the last tape out. So just a few
Last
quick
level. Okay. It's a
questions.
very
and-
semiconductor
Yeah.
word.
the last tape out, exactly. Okay, so if you weren't doing this job in semiconductors, what would you be doing?
That's a very good question. I think I might be doing quantum computing, math, deep math related, the type of thing. That's my
Okay.
personal interest, by the way. But the quantum computing, I think, is more also one of the breakthroughs down the road.
Okay.
And then, doing the more using quantum computing, solving the difficult or impossible mathematic problems. That could be the one I,
Okay.
doing.
We still have time.
True. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll see.
I thought you were going to say a sommelier or a food critic or something.
That's along the way. No, actually, even some people approach me for similar or food critics
Okay.
position or something.
Okay.
Because when I talk to where I eat and chefs I know and so forth, they say, "Hey, Leo, you are so professional. Because some of the even Michelin chefs that they drink or eat much less than I do. I've been exposed this. This is my personal interest.
right.
But anyway, yeah. But that was always happening. So including tonight.
That's right. Okay. Okay. So what is one of your biggest pet peeves?
That's a good another. I think for pointed, unorganized, long meetings, I
Okay.
really hate meetings, and then I'm not very patient one. So I really rather spend one-on-one with the engineer solving problem instead of with the big meetings and many people involved for nothing or for for show or for PPT or something. So that's the thing I really don't like.
Don't waste your time.
No. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is interesting. If you had to be 25 years old again,
Mm.
and you could either be 25 today or 25 in
Then,
your-
right?
then.
Okay.
So with all the pressures on people today, which would you choose?
Today, yeah. No, I think in particular for AI, today is more enabling technologies or tools for you. I mean, you can be even younger, not 25, even 15-ish. When you have AI tools, you can do a lot of more things than my time, when I was 25 years.
Okay.
Actually, that was just right out the farms and everything. That was pretty slow going, right? I think now is absolutely the best time.
So tons of opportunities for
True.
young people. So what is your go-to productivity hack when you're feeling overwhelmed? I mean, anything special that you do?
Drink wine, good wines, great wines that make you happy.
Okay, so what is one of your things that you do in a daily routine that no matter what, you tried never to miss?
I never thought that never to miss exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, in the morning, usually including this morning. So yeah, doing the exercise doesn't matter gyms or others. My knees are not very good. I don't do much jogging, but it's just weightlifting and then swimming in particular. So that make you feel good. Your heart rate pumping up, and then you feel good. So that usually I do every day.
It re-energizes you, right?
Exactly right.
Okay, let's see. When is the last time that you did something fun outside of work? Because for you, work is fun.
Yeah. So the drink wine also part of work. Usually when I go to I go to Europe, France, I think when I travel, go to Loire valleys, and then yes, we see the castles and so forth. That was
Okay.
like a month ago or weeks ago. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. You can kind of call it fun. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I try to think. You so because I meet with investor business. I don't know how to distinguish both. Yeah,
Right. Well, I guess the good news is that you have fun doing.
yeah.
That's
I
good.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay, so last question. Who's the smartest person you've ever worked with or come across?
I think Jason Huang is. Yeah. I'm not quite sure smartest, but he's because I had how do he has Sawa Sushi, and then his own restaurant, right? I think 2010 or 2011. At the time, he wanted to use a GPU in my handset, the baseband chipset, and the entire night, not only is it good food and wine and so forth, we talk about the neural because I told him that hey, neural network fuzzy logic in early 80s when the US I was interested. I said, you learn this, AI, semiconductor, he was pumped up the whole night to talk about it. So I think Jason Huang's success actually is not necessarily because of GPU or something, because he's really into that. Yeah, he really enjoyed it and also focused a long time ago, supercomputing, GPUs solving the problems. That was 2010. This is much earlier, not now. Now is it's just a result. Right? But rather, yeah, he's very focused and then enthusiastic and very smart. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Now we're really done for sure. So cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.